The story takes place on the distant planet Kepler. Pain was climbing up the tree carefully, ready to return the black eggs to the bird's nest. As a result, the bird's egg was crushed. At this time, a strange whoosh came from under the tree. It turned out to be a giant reptile, but the creature climbed up the tree again, and it's a big, unimaginable snake. Pine was terrified, but the giant snake didn't seem to mean any harm to him. Just keep staring at Pin, and try to make eye contact with him. At this time, Pin didn't know. Mother is looking everywhere for her whereabouts. After a carpet search, he finally found the big tree. He also found the giant snake in the distance. This giant snake is at least 5 meters long, and there is an incomprehensible principle floating in the air. But she kept staring at something on the ground. It turned out that it was Pin, who had passed out. The mother thought that the giant snake wanted to hurt Pine. The giant snake seemed very obedient. He left the tree quickly and flew out of here. Finally, the giant snake soared into the air, a roar that shook the sky. This is the white milk secreted by the mother. It turned out that the giant snake was his own flesh and blood. The nurturing process in his body stimulates the lactation system. But this giant snake is really terrible. He just flashed across the sky. This caused great panic to the residents on the ground. They all hid in fear. At this time, they lived in one of the containers and was forcibly dragged into the acid sea by a powerful force. Several innocent residents inside. It was also instantly dissolved by the acid. The next day, 9 more residents were brutally killed. It also includes a toddler. In order to ensure everyone's life safety, they finally decided to kill the terrible snake. The mother thought that the giant snake was born by herself. Therefore, it is also an obligation to eliminate the threat caused by him. So he went up the mountain alone with his weapons. Not long after climbing the mountain, he found a huge canvas on the rock. Go over and take a closer look. It was actually the snake skin shed by a giant snake. The mother grasped the snake skin with mixed feelings, but he finally made up his mind. With that, Mother took hold of the snake skin and breathed a breath. The snake skin immediately ignited a great fire. Finally, it was completely burned to ashes. Mother ran all the way to the foot of the mountain. At this time, the roar of the ghost of the giant snake was coming from the top of the mountain. It can be imagined that the giant snake perched on the top of the mountain. Mother started to climb up without saying anything. Although this mountain is extremely steep, but the mother is a robot born for fighting. Physical strength and endurance are far superior to human beings, so it didn't take much effort. I climbed to the top of the mountain easily, but the top of the mountain was not the bloody scene he imagined. And there are pumpkins everywhere that can't appear here. Are these pumpkins the food of giant snakes? At this time, the giant snake just returned to the top of the mountain. Mother quickly pointed a weapon at him, but the giant snake did not attack him. On the contrary, it looks quite tame. Seeing that the giant snake did not mean any harm to him, Mother also slowly put down the weapon in her hand. At this time, a flying bird happened to pass by. The mother grabbed him as soon as she reached out her hand. Then he extended the bird to the giant snake. I want to see if he is a carnivore. Mother closed her eyes tightly, praying that the giant snake would not eat the birds. Because if the giant snake is really a carnivore, that means he has to kill him. But to my surprise, giant snakes are not interested in meat at all. Instead, he chewed the pumpkin on the ground with relish. It turned out that he was a herbivore. Mother was very happy, because this shows that the residents were not killed by him. He doesn't have to do anything with his children. Finally, the mother brought the giant snake down the mountain. Then he was raised in a cave with his mother's company. The giant snake has a home since then, and even compete with Pine for his mother's favor. But what he doesn't know yet, the irresistible fate has stretched out its claws to him. This is a pentagonal box left by the original Mithraism. It contains the ancient secret of the Tree of Wisdom. Sophie uses a heat source to heat it, attempting to open the box until it is burnt red. The box has no intention of opening. The giant snake that was being locked in the cave at this time. But the warm blood in the past suddenly began to become restless. There seems to be some mysterious connection between him and the Pentagon. Giant snakes rampage through the cave. It seems that I really want to get out of here. Pine came forward to dissuade, but he hit him hard and flew out until my mother came to the cave. The giant snake was quiet again. Sophie couldn't open the box all the time, so I'm going to sleep first and think about it tomorrow, in order to make Paul fall asleep as soon as possible. He also sang the lullaby of the earth. Unexpectedly, the pentagonal box opened automatically. Turns out he's voice controlled, and the lullaby is the key to open it. There is a black thing in the box. It should be the seed of the Tree of Wisdom. Sophie took it in her hand curiously, but the seeds quickly melted into Sophie's body. Then Sophie seemed to be under control. He began to dig the ground with his hands. It turned out that he wanted to dig a deep pit and plant himself in it, because the Tree of Wisdom needs flesh and blood to grow. The next day, the Tree of Wisdom did grow, but Sophie disappeared without a trace. Marcus took a bite of the fruit from the tree. After tasting the taste carefully, I understand. Sophie has been integrated with the Tree of Wisdom. Tears of grief flowed down in an instant. At this time, the giant snake began to agitate again, and kept hitting the door of the cave. Mother wanted to stop him, but he flew out directly. Then the giant snake escaped from the cave and flew to the sky, and quickly left here. The Tree of Wisdom seems to feel some danger. He slowly shrunk all his branches. It seems to be defending something. It turned out that the giant snake had found it. The giant snake hovered above the big tree. I don't know what I want to do. Marcus feels bad. I want to burn the art of wisdom with fire. Who would have thought that the giant snake swooped down from the sky? He swallowed the wisdom directly. The tree of wisdom was finally uprooted. The giant snake immediately mutated. Mother came in time when she heard the news and became the weapon form of the phantom. He flew to the giant snake. He immediately launched a scream against him. Unexpectedly, his attack disappeared. More unexpectedly, after the giant snake mutated, it also learned the secret skill of cunning and laughing. A direct roar. She flew her mother out. Mother fell to the ground and was seriously injured. Fortunately, Marcus and his son found him and took him to the tank for treatment. Mother soon woke up. Marcus asked him why he didn't kill the monster. The mother said it was her internal nurturing program that stopped him, because the giant snake is his own flesh and blood. The procedure mistakenly identified him as a child in need of protection. At this time, the giant snake was completely out of control. My father couldn't dodge. He blew me out again. The mother returned to the base disheartened and quickly found the grandmother robot. The grandmother robot wears a special mask. This mask is a filter that can shield emotions. It is possible to effectively prevent erroneous judgment due to emotion. But the mother took the mask to herself because he needs to use him to shield his emotions. Effective attack against giant snake. The boy was running away with fright because there was a huge snake chasing him. The boy hurried into the crack of the stone. The giant snake searched everywhere in the air. He lost his temper when he couldn't find it. I started to blast the waves into the sea. At this time, an ethereal song came from the sky. When the giant snake heard this, it immediately flew up. It turned out that the mother was using her singing to attract the attention of the giant snake. The mother flew higher into the sky. The giant snake is in hot pursuit. Finally, the mother led the giant snake to outer space. The giant snake extended its tentacles to its mother and then groped for him. It turned out that he wanted to suck the milk from his mother. Unexpectedly, his mother suddenly caught him, and a powerful scream burst out of his mouth. The giant snake flew out of space. The giant snake loses its balance, fell heavily from space to the ground. The mother put her hand into the eyes of the giant snake. He dug out his core directly. The giant snake stopped breathing. The poor giant snake was only 6 months old, just want to drink a sip of mother's milk. Unexpectedly, she was killed by her mother. The huge body of the giant snake was abandoned by the sea. But then something incredible happened. The body of the giant snake suddenly gushed out numerous tentacles and deep into the ground. Then his body was broken. The tree of wisdom that he swallowed came alive. This is really incredible. What is the mysterious connection between them? With the help of Grandma's mask, the mother successfully removed the thread of the giant snake. But he didn't want to take it off because he believes that there will be greater threats in the future. But what he still doesn't know is, this mask is actually a deliberate trap. When he inspected the children as usual, I found that my grandmother was guiding the children to adapt to the acid sea environment. It seems that they have deliberately degenerated into sea animals. The mother felt bad and tried to take off the mask, but the mask could not be taken off, and then the mask expanded rapidly. Finally, the mother was completely wrapped up. It's like being put into a compressed bag with dry air. Then Grandma returned to the base and cut a slit on the mask with a knife. My grandmother's mission is to ensure that human beings live forever. But at present, the planet's living environment is extremely bad. He believes that only by making humans degenerate into sea animals, adapt to the environment of acid sea, this is the only way to make the weak and ignorant human beings survive forever. Finally, my grandmother shut my mother into the sleeping chamber and start the virtual reality technology. Let mother fall into the dream system. Although mother knew she was in a mirage, but also can only be trapped in the prison of consciousness, unable to return to heaven. Later, my grandmother found a material supplier. He was given a batch of stereoscopic projection game devices and asked him to distribute it to all mankind. The mother tried to brainwash all the remaining human beings with this device. Finally, the picture comes to the giant snake. Marcus wears a Punisher mask. He was nailed to death by his companions on the Tree of Wisdom. But then something strange happened. It's just drinking water. Marcus's body disappeared out of thin air. My companions hurried to look around, but a few drops of blood suddenly fell down. Looking up, it was Marcus' body, and it was suspended upside down in the air. Such a phenomenon that violates the physical convention. Even Newton could not make a reasonable explanation.